I thought messages were missing. Then I realized something worse. My family was talking around conversations I could not see. I thought it was a simple backup error. I thought files were corrupted. Everything seemed normal. My cousin Jake restored an old family group chat. My grandmother used to switch phones constantly. Nobody knew how many backups existed. Jake found some cloud archive and restored everything. At first, everyone was happy. People sent old screenshots, random pictures reappeared. My Aunt Melissa found old vacation photos. My mom Rachel recovered birthday videos. Emma found old voice notes. Even I thought it was cool. Then Jake called me back. Everything felt strange. Not panic, just confusion. Jake asked if I deleted my messages. I had no idea what he meant. He got quiet. I sat down. I did not like his voice. Jake said there were entire conversations where people were replying to me. I stared at the wall. I asked what he meant. He said people were responding to messages I never sent. I laughed. I thought he was explaining it badly. I asked for clarification. He said people were talking to me, but my messages were not there. I did not answer. My brain could not process it. I thought deleted messages looked weird after recovery. I thought cloud backups were broken. I wanted a simple explanation. Jake sent screenshots. The first one looked harmless. Aunt Melissa said she agreed with me. Rachel said I overreacted. Emma said she warned me. My message was not there. Nothing. Just replies. I scrolled up. Nothing. I scrolled down. Nothing. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Something was wrong. It was not creepy yet, it was just wrong. It felt like reading half a conversation. I asked Jake to scroll further. More screenshots appeared. These covered actual years. Family trips were there, arguments were there, holidays were there. People were reacting to things I supposedly said. None of my messages existed. Not one. I thought I was losing my mind. If you were sitting where I was sitting, you would think the same thing. Maybe messages disappear, maybe backups are weird, maybe phones do strange things. I kept trying to explain it. Then Jake sent one screenshot that stopped me. It was my grandmother from 3 years ago. Melissa said, please do not tell her yet. Rachel said they needed more time. Grandma said she did not like hiding things. Emma said I was already suspicious. I read it once, I read it again. I realized something. I was not missing random jokes. I was missing entire discussions about me. I called Jake immediately. I asked him to search my name. There was silence. I heard keyboard sounds. There was more silence. Then he said, "Oh." I asked what it was. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Oh no." I sat up. Nobody says "oh no" like that. I asked what happened. He said it was weird. He told me every missing conversation had one thing in common. Every single one involved me. Not some, not most. All of them. Every invisible gap involved me. I still thought this was a tech problem. I still wanted a stupid explanation. Then Jake said something that changed everything. He told me to wait. He asked why there were screenshots inside the backup of conversations that did not exist anymore. I felt cold. I realized something. Backups save old things, but screenshots are different. Screenshots mean somebody wanted to keep proof. I was not wondering where my messages went anymore. I was wondering why somebody saved proof of conversations I could not see. I called Jake back immediately. No hello, nothing. I just asked him to send the screenshots. Because at that point, I honestly didn't even care about the missing messages anymore. I wanted to see what somebody thought was important enough to save. Jake sent the first one. At first, it looked completely normal. Family group chat, my grandmother's profile picture, Melissa, Rachel, Emma, random conversation. Nothing strange. Then I looked closer. Melissa said, "I don't think she'll notice." Rachel said, "Not yet." Emma said, "Just give it time." I stared. Because immediately, something felt off. Not the messages, the screenshot itself. I zoomed in, then zoomed in again. Because suddenly I realized something. The top message was cut off. Actually, no, multiple messages were cut off. Like somebody intentionally took the screenshot lower. I frowned, scrolled back, opened it again. Still weird. I asked Jake if he cropped it. He said no. Then he sent another one. Same thing. Different conversation, different year. Same problem. Top messages cut off. Like whoever took the screenshots specifically wanted the beginning missing. I stared at my phone. Because suddenly I wasn't looking at saved memories anymore. I was looking at selected memories. Pieces. Controlled pieces. Then Jake sent another screenshot. This one immediately made me stop. Emma said, delete that one. Melissa said, seriously? Rachel said, deleted. I stared, then frowned, then looked again, because there was absolutely nothing in the screenshot. No photo, no attachment, no message, nothing. Just replies. Delete what? I looked harder. Nothing. No context. No explanation, no reason. I asked Jake if maybe another image was missing. No, nothing. That was the entire screenshot. And honestly, if you saw these screenshots without context, you'd probably think they were random too. I tried convincing myself of that. Maybe old backups break things? Maybe screenshots save weird? Maybe messages fail to load? Something normal, something boring. Because every explanation I came up with felt better than the alternative. Jake sent another screenshot, then another, then another. And after a while, I noticed something. Dates. Not conversation dates. Screenshot dates. I frowned immediately because one conversation was from 2019. Family vacation, grandma joking, Emma complaining, normal stuff. Then I looked at the screenshot information. Saved? I stared, then looked again. No, that didn't make sense. Why save a screenshot from a conversation 5 years later? Then another. Conversation. Saved. Another. Saved. I stopped moving because suddenly every screenshot had one thing in common. Old conversations, recently saved. Very recently. Not over years, not randomly. Same period, same months. I called Jake immediately. Again. No hello, nothing. I asked him one question. When were these saved? Silence, then keyboard sounds. Then he said, last year. I frowned. What? Then he said, almost all of them. I sat there staring at the wall because suddenly I wasn't thinking about old family memories anymore. I was thinking about somebody reopening old conversations, searching, scrolling, looking for things, specifically looking. Then Jake got quiet, really quiet. I heard more scrolling. Then he said, wait. I froze immediately because at that point I already hated that word. Every time somebody said wait, things somehow got worse. Then Jake said, okay. Silence. This is weird. I asked him what happened. Nothing. Then he said I found folders. Folders, plural. I frowned. What folders? Jake said there was one called vacation, one called birthdays, one called recipes. Normal stuff. Completely normal. Then he said important. I stared. Actually stared. Because families don't create folders called important. Not like that. Not inside backup archives, not randomly. I asked what was inside. Jake got quiet again. Then he said screenshots. I frowned. Only screenshots? Silence. Then he said, yeah. No photos, no videos, no documents. Just screenshots. Jake opened it. First screenshot. Second. Third. 20th. 30th. More. Then more. All family conversations. All weird. All involving me somehow. And suddenly I realized Jake had stopped making jokes completely. He sounded scared. Actually scared. Then I heard him scrolling faster. Then slower. Then he said, no. Silence. Then he said, no. I sat up immediately because Jake never reacted like that, ever. I asked him what happened. Nothing. Then he said, "Why do all these files start with your initials?" I frowned. What? Then he read them. AR_001, AR_002, AR_017, AR_023. Again. Dozens. My initials. Every file. Every screenshot. Every weird conversation. Every missing message. Me. And suddenly, I stopped wondering if conversations disappeared by accident. Because accidents don't organize folders. People do. I called Jake immediately. Again, no hello, nothing. I asked him to stop scrolling. Because honestly, at that point, it felt like every 5 minutes something impossible somehow got worse. First missing messages, then screenshots, then folders, then my initials. AR_001, AR_002, AR_017. Like somebody had organized years of conversations around me. Jake stopped talking for a few seconds. Then he said, "I think there is more." And honestly, hearing that almost made me angry. Because every single time somebody said that, my life somehow got worse. I asked what he meant. Then I heard him clicking, opening files, closing files, scrolling. Then he said, "Okay, this one is weird." I sat down immediately because Jake had completely stopped sounding confused. Now he sounded uncomfortable. Actually, no, worried. He opened another screenshot. Family group chat, 3 years earlier. Normal conversation at first. Melissa complaining about holiday plans, Emma joking, Rachel talking about work. Then I noticed the date, December 14th. I frowned because I remembered that day very clearly. That was my college graduation dinner. I remembered where I sat. I remembered Grandma complaining about the music. I remembered all of it. Then I looked back down. Melissa said she is upset. Rachel said, "I knew she would notice eventually." Emma said, "Do we tell her?" Then Grandma said, "Not tonight." I stared, because suddenly that cold feeling came back. Not tonight what? I almost called my mom. Actually, I opened her contact, then closed it. Because honestly, what was I supposed to ask? "Hey Mom, random question. Were you all secretly discussing me during family dinners?" No, that sounded insane. Completely insane. Jake opened another screenshot. Different year, same feeling. Rachel said, "Did anyone talk to her?" Melissa said, "Not yet." Emma said, "We should wait." Again, no beginning, no explanation. Just pieces, fragments. Like somebody intentionally saved only the middle of conversations. Then Jake suddenly stopped. Completely. No movement. Nothing. I actually checked if the call disconnected. Then he said, "Oh." Then he said, "Oh no." I sat up immediately because Jake never reacted like that. Ever. I asked him what happened. Nothing. Then he said, "These are not random." I frowned. What? Then Jake said, "Open your messages." I stared. What? "Search Melissa." I did. Nothing. Then he said, "Search Grandma." Nothing. Then he said, "Search Emma." Still nothing. I told him I did not understand. Then Jake said, "Search dates." I frowned. Then he read one. December 14th. Nothing. July 22nd. Nothing. March 3rd. Nothing. Those conversations did not exist. Not archived, not hidden. Gone. Completely gone. And honestly, if you were sitting where I was sitting, you would probably still be trying to explain it away. I was. Backup issue? Cloud error? Transfer problem? Anything. Literally anything. Because every explanation sounded better than what was slowly forming in my head. Jake got quiet again. Then he said, wait. Immediately. Again. Always that word. Then he said, I found another folder. I closed my eyes because I already knew I was not going to like this. I asked what it was called. Silence. Then he said, discussion. I frowned. Discussion. Jake opened it. No screenshots. No photos. Just text files. Dozens. Tiny files. Random names. Then Jake opened one. And suddenly neither of us said anything. Because at the top it said, AR family discussion. Underneath it said, do not bring up college tonight. Then wait until after Christmas. Then Melissa, talk to her first. Then she already noticed. I stared. Actually stared. Because suddenly this did not feel like a tech problem anymore. This felt like people making plans. Plans involving me. Without me. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I was not wondering where my messages went anymore. I was wondering why my family seemed to be having meetings I never knew existed. I didn't sleep much that night. Honestly, I kept staring at my phone, thinking the same thing over and over. Discussion? Not archive, not notes. Discussion. Like people had meetings, actual conversations about me. And somehow I knew calling my mom wasn't going to help. Because what exactly was I supposed to say? Hey mom, random question. Why does Jake have backup files called family discussion with my initials on them? No, absolutely not. So I did what normal people do when they panic. I told myself there had to be some explanation. A stupid explanation. An embarrassing explanation. Maybe grandma organized things weirdly. Maybe discussion meant family planning. Maybe I was overreacting. I kept repeating that over and over. Then Jake texted me. Just one message. I opened another file. I stared immediately. Didn't answer. Then another message. I think you should look. At that point, I hated those messages because every single time Jake found something, things somehow got worse. He sent screenshots, text file, nothing fancy. No giant secret, no crazy reveal. Just bullet points. And honestly, that somehow felt worse. December. Don't bring up college. January. Melissa, talk first. March. Wait until after vacation. April. She noticed. I stared. Because they didn't sound like secrets. They sounded organized. Like people continuing conversations from earlier discussions. Then another screenshot. This one was shorter. Rachel. Don't mention Jake's apartment. Emma. Seriously. Melissa. Not around her. I frowned immediately because I had literally been to Jake's apartment. Movie nights, birthdays, random family stuff. Nothing weird. I texted Jake immediately. I asked if he knew what they meant. Nothing. Then he said no. Then, wait. Always wait. Then another screenshot appeared. Rachel. She asked about it. Emma. What did you say? Melissa. I changed the subject. I stared. Then looked back at Jake's earlier screenshot. Then back again. Because suddenly I realized something. Nobody ever explained anything. Not once. No context, no details, just reactions. Like everybody already knew what they were talking about. Everybody except me. And honestly, if you saw all this at once, you would probably still try explaining it away. I was, because the alternative felt ridiculous. Then Jake suddenly called. No hello, nothing. First thing. Okay, this is weird. I sat up immediately, because Jake had stopped sounding curious a long time ago. Now he sounded uncomfortable. Actually, no, nervous. I asked what happened. Nothing. Then he said, I searched your initials. Silence. Long silence. And then he said, there were more. I frowned. More what? More files? More screenshots? Then he said, no. Silence. More names. I sat there, not moving. Then Jake read them. ER, MR, JR. Dozens. Same format, same files, same folders. I frowned immediately because Emma, Melissa, Jake, same initials, same structure, same everything. I asked what that meant. Jake got quiet, really quiet. Then he said, I think Grandma was organizing family conversations. I stared, actually stared, because for 1 second, I almost felt relieved. Finally, a normal explanation. Grandma organized things. Grandma saved things. Grandma labeled files weirdly. Done. Finished. Over. I actually remember relaxing for a second. Literally 1 second. Then Jake said, wait, immediately. Again. Then he said, no. Long silence. Then quietly, why is there no folder for Rachel? I froze, because Rachel was my mom. And suddenly that cold feeling came back, because there were folders for Emma, Melissa, Jake, me, everybody, except my mother. And suddenly one thought hit me, hard. What if my mom wasn't being discussed? What if she was helping organize it? I didn't call my mom, not that day. Honestly, I kept staring at Rachel's name, thinking the same thing over and over. No folder. Everybody had one. Emma, Melissa, Jake, me, everybody, except her. And I kept trying to convince myself it meant nothing. Maybe Grandma didn't finish organizing things. Maybe Mom's files were somewhere else. Maybe there was another folder. Anything. Literally anything. Because the alternative felt ridiculous. Then Jake texted me. 1 sentence. No context. No warning. Just, I think I found out what Jake's apartment meant. I stared immediately, because I had completely forgotten about that. Not around her. Jake's apartment. The weird messages. I called him instantly. No hello, nothing. I just asked, what does it mean? Silence. Then, do you remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago? I frowned, because honestly, I barely remembered last week. 3 years ago? No chance. Then Jake reminded me. Grandma's house. Snow outside. Emma arguing with Melissa. My mom cooking. Kids everywhere. Then suddenly I remembered. Jake had invited everyone to his apartment after dinner. Movies, games, random family stuff. I went too. At least I thought I did. Then Jake said, no. Silence. You left early. I frowned immediately. No, I didn't. Silence. Then, yeah. Long silence. You cried. I froze. Completely. Because suddenly I remembered. Not the apartment. The bathroom. Grandma's bathroom. I remembered sitting on the floor, crying. I remembered my mom hugging me. Then I remembered everyone suddenly getting quiet when I walked back downstairs. I froze again, because I hadn't remembered that part before. Not once. Not until that exact moment. I remembered Emma looking down, Melissa grabbing her drink, Jake staring at the TV, nobody saying anything. Then Emma suddenly smiled. Too fast. Too normal. Like people do when they know you heard something. Then nothing. Nothing after. Blank. I sat there staring, because suddenly I realized I had no memory after that. None. And honestly, if you were sitting where I was sitting, you would probably be doing exactly what I was doing. Trying to force memories back. I was. Hard. Bathroom. Crying. Mom. Emma. Silence. Then people suddenly stopping conversations. Then blank. Nothing. Jake got quiet. Then he said, wait. Immediately. Again. Then quieter. Why do I remember this differently than the screenshots? I froze. Because suddenly I remembered something. One of the files. Melissa. She already noticed. Rachel. Not tonight. Emma. Wait until after vacation. I stared. Then back at my phone. Then at the wall. Because for the first time, I realized something that genuinely scared me. The files weren't showing conversations. They were showing versions. Versions of the same events. Versions people seemed to remember differently. And for the first time, I stopped wondering what my family was hiding. Because suddenly I had a much worse question. Why did everybody remember the same night differently? I didn't talk to my mom the next day either. Honestly, I avoided everyone. Rachel, Emma, Melissa, all of them. Because at that point, I had reached a really strange place mentally. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I was trying to convince myself none of it meant what I thought it meant. Because people don't secretly organize years of conversations around family members. People don't create folders. People don't save screenshots. Families definitely don't discuss people like projects. Right? That's what I kept telling myself. Then Jake called. Again. No hello, nothing. First thing. Okay, silence. I think I found something bad. I stared at my phone immediately. Because honestly, I was getting tired of hearing that sentence. Every time Jake found something, reality somehow got worse. I asked what happened. Nothing. Then, I think somebody sent the wrong screenshot. I frowned. Wrong screenshot. I asked what he meant. Jake got quiet. Then, I found another image. I waited. Then, it's inside the important folder. Immediately, my stomach dropped. Because at that point, I hated that folder. Jake sent it. At first, it looked completely normal. Text messages. Melissa. Delete the other one. Rachel. Already did. Emma. Good. I stared. Because honestly, that wasn't weird anymore. At that point, weird had become normal. Then I looked lower. Attachment. IMG 4822. I frowned. Because unlike every other screenshot, this one showed part of another conversation. Not much, just enough. At the top, planning. I stared. Actually stared. Because that wasn't our family group chat. No grandma, no cousins, no random relatives. Just Rachel, Melissa, Emma. And immediately I felt that cold feeling again. Because I wasn't there. Jake wasn't there. Nobody else. Just them. I zoomed in. Then zoomed in again. Because part of the conversation was still visible. Rachel. Don't tell her before graduation. Melissa. Agreed. Emma. She'll overthink it. I stared. Read it again. Then again. Graduation? Immediately I remembered the other screenshot. College? Not tonight. Wait. She noticed. Suddenly everything felt connected. Not because I understood it, because I didn't. Actually, I understood less than before. I called Jake immediately. No hello, nothing. I just asked, what graduation? Silence. Then, yours. I sat there, not moving. Because honestly, hearing him say that made my brain stop. My graduation? What about it? I graduated. Everybody came. Pictures, dinner, family stuff. Normal. Completely normal, right? Then Jake got quiet. Really quiet. Then, wait. Immediately. Again. Always wait. Then I heard scrolling. Then silence. Long silence. Then, that's weird. I closed my eyes. Because I already knew. Already knew I wasn't going to like whatever came next. I asked what happened. Silence. Then, Grandma isn't in this one. I froze. Completely. Because suddenly I realized something. Grandma was everywhere. Every backup, every conversation, every old message, every family discussion. Always Grandma. Except this. Not planning. Not once. And honestly, if you saw your own family talking like that, you'd probably still convince yourself it meant something else. I was. Hard. Maybe Grandma wasn't included. Maybe they forgot. Maybe it was random. Anything. Literally anything. Because suddenly another thought hit me. Hard. Grandma organized everything. Grandma saved everything. Grandma labeled everything. So if Grandma wasn't in planning, then who created it? And for the first time since this started, I wasn't wondering what my family was hiding anymore. I was wondering who started hiding things first. I didn't call my mom. Not that day. Honestly, I kept staring at Rachel's name, thinking the same thing over and over. No folder. Everybody had one. Emma, Melissa, Jake, me. Everybody. Except her. And I kept trying to convince myself it meant nothing. Maybe Grandma didn't finish organizing things. Maybe Mom's files were somewhere else. Maybe there was another folder. Anything. Literally anything. Because the alternative felt ridiculous. Then Jake texted me. One sentence. No context, no warning. Just, I think I found out what Jake's apartment meant. I stared immediately, because I had completely forgotten about that. Not around her. Jake's apartment. The weird messages. I called him instantly. No hello, nothing. I just asked, what does it mean? Silence. Then, do you remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago? I frowned, because honestly, I barely remembered last week. 3 years ago? No chance. Then Jake reminded me. Grandma's house, snow outside, Emma arguing with Melissa, my mom cooking, kids everywhere. Then suddenly, I remembered. Jake had invited everyone to his apartment after dinner. Movies, games, random family stuff. I went too. At least I thought I did. Then Jake said, no. Silence. You left early. I frowned immediately. No, I didn't. Silence. Then, yeah. Long silence. You cried. I froze. Completely. Because suddenly, I remembered. Not the apartment. The bathroom. Grandma's bathroom. I remembered sitting on the floor crying. I remembered my mom hugging me. Then I remembered everyone suddenly getting quiet when I walked back downstairs. I froze again. Because I hadn't remembered that part before. Not once. Not until that exact moment. I remembered Emma looking down, Melissa grabbing her drink, Jake staring at the TV. Nobody saying anything. Then Emma suddenly smiled. Too fast. Too normal. Like people do when they know you heard something. Then nothing. Nothing after. Blank. I sat there staring. Because suddenly I realized I had no memory after that. None. And honestly, if you were sitting where I was sitting, you would probably be doing exactly what I was doing. Trying to force memories back. I was. Hard. Bathroom. Crying. Mom. Emma. Silence. Then people suddenly stopping conversations. Then blank. Nothing. Jake got quiet. Then he said, wait. The files weren't showing conversations. They were showing versions. Versions of the same events. Versions people seemed to remember differently. And for the first time, I stopped wondering what my family was hiding. Because suddenly I had a much worse question. Why did everybody remember the same night differently? The barbecue felt normal. Honestly, that was probably the worst part. Kids running around, uncles arguing about sports, Melissa carrying food back and forth, Emma scrolling through her phone, Rachel acting completely normal. Completely. Like the last few days never happened. Like there weren't years of screenshots, folders, messages, planning. Nothing. Jake got there 20 minutes later. Laptop bag, coffee. Normal. Too normal. He sat next to me. Didn't say anything. Didn't even look at me. Then quietly, You brought it? I nodded. That was it. No giant plan, no dramatic speech, nothing. Because honestly, at that point, neither of us even knew what we were trying to prove. We just wanted answers. An hour later, everybody sat down. Same tables, same seats, same people. Then I noticed something. Melissa next to me, Jake across from me, Rachel further down. Exactly like the messages. Exactly. And suddenly I got that cold feeling again. Because Jake was right. They weren't planning events. They were planning people. I looked at Jake. Jake looked back. Then quietly. Now. I stared. What? Then ask. Silence. Just ask. Simple questions. Nothing else. I looked at my mom. Then said, Mom? Rachel looked up immediately. Smiled. Yeah? Silence. Long silence. Then, why didn't Grandma have a folder? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No reaction. For maybe 1 second. Then Rachel looked at Melissa. Tiny movement. Tiny. But I saw it. Melissa saw it too. Emma looked down. Immediately. Jake looked at me, then at the laptop. Then Rachel smiled. Too fast. Way too fast. What folder? I stared, because suddenly nobody was eating anymore. Nobody. Then Jake opened the laptop, turned it. Not dramatically, just turned it. Discussion, planning, screenshots, messages. Silence. Absolute silence. Rachel stared. Melissa stopped moving. Emma looked down immediately. Again, nobody spoke. Nobody. Then Jake asked, why were there conversations about her that she couldn't see? Nothing. Then Melissa laughed. Tiny laugh. Nervous. The kind people do when they know things are collapsing. Then, this isn't what it looks like. I stared, because honestly, people only say that when it looks exactly like that. Then Rachel looked at Emma. Emma looked at Melissa. Melissa looked down. Nobody looked at me. Nobody. Then Emma quietly said, Mom. Silence. Long silence. Stop. Nobody moved. Nobody. Then Rachel finally looked at me. Actually looked at me. Then said, we were trying to protect you. I stared. Protect me. That word, again. Always protect. Wait, not tonight. Don't tell her. She noticed. Protect. And suddenly I realized something. Years. Actual years. Years of people deciding what I should hear, what I should know, what I was ready for. Without me. Then Rachel said, we didn't want you upset. Silence. Then we thought we were helping. I stared at her for a few seconds, then smiled. Small smile. Then I said, that's interesting. Silence. Then, because for years, you decided what I was ready to hear. I looked at Jake, then back at Rachel. Then, so this time, silence. I decided for you. And suddenly, nobody said anything. Because for the first time, there were no missing messages.